So here I am working on the setup of the second scenario on the Freiburg map. The first one, the French forces were mainly down here and coming up through here. This is a couple days later. It looks to me like the Bavarians are going to be up here on the Scheilberg. It's called Josephsbergle. I don't know the meaning of the name for that. And I've run into a couple of problems. First of all, there's a pile of counters that should definitely be bagged. They have the little dash. Can't really see it. It's not focusing in. They have the little dash after where they were allocated. And to me, that means, my understanding is that means that they're not going to get used in the second scenario. There's some of the losses from it. But I got 3 units that are unnamed or that are unmarked in that way that are not named in the order of battle, whatever, for this scenario. I'll look in the Saints in Armor, see if I can find anything, but I don't think there was anything for this one. Maybe they're supposed to have dashes on them and they were just misprinted. Maybe they're supposed to be on the board and aren't there. One thing that I notice is, I put all these in open order. They're going to be operating in open order. There's no question there. This artillery, I don't know if it can shoot anything. It's going to probably start limbered. But this one can. But these woods here are going to block view, I think. But these forces, if they're going up on this hill, they're going to want to all be in open order too. So again, we're just not going to have enough open order markers. That's okay. We don't use salvos in this scenario either. I also have a unit of dismounted cuirassiers. What the fuck are they to be treated as? I can show you what they look like. They're down here. They kind of look like riflemen of some sort or something. Cuirassiers would not be armed with an arquebus, though. They'd just be armed with pistols and swords. I highly doubt that they're trained to fight. Like, they're not going to be pike units or whatever. I don't know what's up with them and why they're there. Maybe there's special rules on them. There's special rules on these musketeers, like in the first scenario. If that center wing, I guess, takes a heavy infantry hit, the England can bring it into play. I haven't started setting up the Bavarians. I'm going to check these, make sure that I'm not missing something. Hey, all the crap going on with this map, the 2 scenarios on it, it is probably my least favorite musket and pike scenario yet. Between the terrain, the system just does not play well, with all this terrain, with the types of units that it has in it. I'd rather be playing the old, I don't remember what it was from, 30 Years War Quad. Brightonfield was the 5th game of it. I'd rather be playing something like that, where, it's still a pain in the ass to deal with, but it's not in the same level of detail and everything. This one, just, these couple of battles, I wish they didn't exist in my set. I'll play them because they do, but this is worse than the Saints in Armor stuff, to tell you the truth. Although the rules bloat was less as of this box. This is rules 3.0 versus 6.0, and that rules bloat started adding corrections and stuff and changes that I've just never gotten comfortable with, and I'm not happy with. I far prefer the earlier games in the series. It feels like the longer the series has been around, the worse it's gotten. A lot of things get more complicated over time. Sometimes I'm okay with that. With this particular series, I'm really not. It was cumbersome enough to begin with. I'm down here again. I'm trying to convince myself to go shopping, but I just woke up and there's some things I want to take care of. So I'm doing this to get myself prepared. But I set up this calf wing and it's horrible. Other than these two units, just about everything has to be in open order here too. It almost feels like nearly every unit is going to be in open order in this scenario. And there just are not the counters for it. I mean, I guess I could pillage other games. I won't do that. But even with all the hedgehogs and everything, I don't know that I'm going to have enough counters. Why are these two okay? Because there's like a sliver of clear terrain here without slopes. But everything else is going to have to suffer. Everything up here needs to be in open order. It's conceivable back here I might not, but yeah, I'm gonna have to. There's a stream here between me and the enemy, you know? Factor. These are light infantry. You know, I had detachments on some that made it clear they were. I had, normally it just says musketeers on them, you know, and they're sitting there with their guns out. Not really sure what these are. Again, they're not commanded muskets. They're not dragoons. It looks like they might be armed with some sort of weapon. I don't know what they fire on, if they fire. Yeah. I'm going to treat them like they're musketeers, but that makes them pretty potent, to tell you the truth. But light infantry that didn't have any firepower would suck. That's the same imagery used for dragoons. They just don't say it on them. Which means they're essentially the same as musketeers. Again, I don't know why the image needs to be different. These aren't miniatures. Everything should be done in a board game that's possible without making the game ugly, you know? Because an unattractive... I can see the argument against, say, like the old CWB maps and whatnot that were kind of garishly colored. Even though I could deal with them. But to kind of make the game playable as possible, make the information pop and everything, and trying to distinguish unit type by this little imagery. So this is different. This is what the heavy infantry looks like. The light infantry looks like that. That's the only differentiation I have on it. There should be something a little bit more. I don't care what, but something. Kind of strangely enough, and this is going to require some sort of, you know, multiple operations for a unit that is in receive charge, which don't tend to get turns very quickly. It's going to represent something of not quite organized enough a defense for the Bavarians after a couple of days, which is that this redoubt is not allowed to have a unit in it. Now, we also have units sitting here on the reverse facing of the hill, behind the hill. This makes some sense, but not really, because it doesn't really give room for a retreat. There's no gap or anything like that. Which means we're going to fall back a hex and then make the cannot retreat roll, which is not exactly what you want to do when you're trying to defend a location. You want density in that case, or you want a retreat path that you can recover. But the density is probably a better thing. But it is kind of funny with that. I've got an artillery unit in there. I'm trying to decide where the rest of my artillery go. Yeah. Instead of giving the explicit locations where units were, which they managed to do for the attackers and for everything except the units in the defenses. Instead, here they tell me who's in the line. Now, it's possible that we have really, really good information on everything else and not on this. I like just being told put things in given hexes. Yeah. And then maybe give me an option that allows me a little bit freer setup. But maybe, again, that's just not particularly possible. Seems like you would know who's in the first line, who's not, though. I've run out of open order already just on this cav wing. These guys, I want open, or I want informed order. But all of this back here, and you might say, well, wait a minute. These infantry, do they really need to be in open order? Sure, this guy who might be going through the woods or not, but these guys are just going to take one formation hit. Yeah. If they take that formation hit, they're halved in movement. It takes the same amount to recover from open order as it does from formation shaken. So you'd rather be in open order. I guess. It's hard to tell, but I could conceivably fill the front line from back there. Even though most likely I'm just going to move forward and create a denser two lines. I'll have some counters available at some point or another. I'm not going to have enough to cover all of these French units. These guys, pretty much no matter what, are going to be in open order. They have to go up through this vineyard and whatever. And again, it's no better to be formation shaken. The cav is a more interesting question because it is possible cav will be moving down here. Now, what are my cav good for? Like, they're really not going to be particularly good at breaking this up unless I can get behind it. So I kind of see that I have a really, really tight channel with streams and everything that I'm going to be fighting over. Certainly a fair amount of them are going to be in open order. I might leave a couple of them not, or quite a few. It's hard to tell. It's really hard to make this decision. At this point, I am out of counters, which maybe means I'll just go up and get some white counters and fuck the hedgehogs because they could actually be useful for something. Because I can't cover, I need more than, I have like, I have one in here. I need more than one of these units to be in open order. That's for certain. I managed to convince myself on the shopping, and neither me nor the cart are badly damaged. Found some pears and figs, fresh figs, on the way home. So I had kind of a treat with the figs. May do something similar with the pears. I don't know. I like eating pears too. And I'm starting to use the white counters as more of these open orders. It's just excess that I have from many, many games. But in order to decide what I'm doing, I looked at the orders. So these two formations are in charge. They're going forward. Back here, we're both in receive charge. I still think that these want to be in open order. It's a little questionable with this guy up here. But I kind of feel like that cav can kind of break up the attack. As opposed to being particularly effective as a part of the defense. I could use a lot less and have a defense. So I'm going to leave what I got there. But the big question is, these guys, they're also in receive charge. It may be less important for them to be crossing the streams or anything. This one will want to. I've got these thoughts that, like, there are units. If I'm facing an attack, and again, I really don't know that I'm going to be that effective hitting across here. So I'm kind of torn as to whether I should put them all in open order. These guys are kind of doing something that I like, and I just don't see them battering their way through in any effective sort of way to get behind that Bavarian line. All right. So this may be what we actually set up as. I'll give it some more thought. All right. So there are special rules on this. First of all, heavy infantry with 2 strengths. It's the 2nd strength to indicate losses that were before. Again, we're not, and they won't count against victory points or anything. There's no effect from the previous battle on this one. Break. The battle started in the morning and lasted a good part of the day. I don't know how long it is. Goes 18 turns maximum. Okay. Well, if that's the case, why don't I start it on turn 3 instead of turn 1? Okay. At one point, D'Enghien took a break to reorganize and set up a second attack. If no units are adjacent and no wings have a charge order, then either player can declare a break. It's 4 turns long. We've seen this in, I think we saw it in Recall. And all units, or maybe one of the Civil War. And all units on both sides revert to receive charge orders automatically. All units on the map go back to morale normal and formation normal, or open order. And Cav may reload both. This doesn't change the effects of the casualty threshold. Once again, much as the last time this was encountered, there's no real indication that you can't call more than 1 break. I don't know. I get the feeling it's only meant to be 1, but it's not clear. In addition to normal victory points, whoever controls the following gets 10 per. Per hex of the Schleierberg position. And they reach these out 1804, 1904, 2005. 1804, 1904, 2005. That is supposedly Josephsbergle. That's what it's named after. Yes. 2104, 2204 is Furdhof. 2104, 2204. These. It has the word there. And 2303, 2403 is Warnhalde. Can't remember the numbers. 2303, 2403. That's going to be these two. So pretty much it's this front line, I believe. What was the first one? 1804. Yeah, running from here up to here. Those are worth 10 points each. How big a deal are they? 10 points seems like a lot, but that's a unit, right? What is the victory conditions? Well, it's balanced. -9 to 9 is a draw. So we could kind of just call it at a draw because it looks very painful to go up there. And that may be the best move by the French, is just pull away and say, fuck it, we didn't win. We aren't going to do that. But I just wanted to give an idea. Historically, decisive Bavarian victory, yeah, with a -80. Seems likely. Again, an assault on a position through terrain like this, it is not going to be fun. It is not going to be fun. Such is. Right. In between, I keep trying to find something to do on the computer to enjoy myself rather than just watch videos, but I'm having a hard time thinking about playing Crusader Kings. Crusader Kings 3, 4th not out yet, I guess. But anyway, these guys only got to get one activation. But I got 3 here, and I moved up into position, and then just started trading, well, getting myself in position to trade fire. I took a shot, which is terrible and all. Some introductory fire actually killed the artillery up here. It's kind of a stacking problem, which is you put your artillery on top, it can do something, but it can't really fire at close range as reactive fire. So anyway, I'm hoping to be able to trim these down through firepower, because actually assaulting these is very, very painful. Although I think at some point or another I have to do it, I'm hoping that attritional fire will gain me a position where I'm able, to make the assaults or something. I'm really not sure. But right now, with fairly big units, it kind of makes sense, especially since my morale is lower and I'm facing defensive barriers. That's going to throw me over to one of the received charges. Then this will come in. Then we'll go back there. But I've done more than I want to. All right. These battles are just where there's so much terrain and everything. They're just not much fun to play. And then we conducted these guys who remained in received charge. I'm not sure if that's where they necessarily want to be, but they're not really intending to move. And exchanged some fire. Brought these guys up on the hill where they're in better position. And that brings us over to these. I think these are just going to pass, to be honest. I think we're perfectly happy with what we've got. If the cav comes out, we deal with it. If it doesn't, we don't. At least for now. We're hoping the infantry can break the infantry, as it were. Although, that seems unlikely. To make life easier, and because I'm not convinced that attacking with this cav is of any value, I'm going to do the same, and that's going to be the end of the turn. Here it is Thursday, after spending some time trying to tap that damn bend out, which enough to hurt my knees and my back trying to squat and doing it. I don't have, a decent setup tool-wise or whatever, so I'm like out there banging on a cinder block. No clamps, nothing. It's just not. And trying to use a screwdriver or whatever to try to get enough force with my big old sledge. Could use a smaller hammer. I don't know if that would help. Might be able to hit harder, but it would be more dangerous to me. Okay, so I had these guys in charge. They moved forward and engaged the musketeers here. I'm facing ugly fire from that and all kind of nastiness. Doesn't look like it's going to get me anywhere, but the really ugly place is up here, where my units that were in the front that had gotten into normal order both dissolved due to being unable to retreat. This is the sort of, do you want a mass of units or not? If you've got good morale, which the Bavarians do, you definitely want the mass. It's a little more iffy with the French, but it's so hard to get up on the front safely, right? Because your introduction fire, you end up getting shot first, you're at -3 on your fire. You really want to be sitting there in position as long as you possibly can, so I decided the density made sense. Anyway, we got ourselves back into charge and marched up here, and one of these abatisses is dead. We managed to kill another gun, The guns aren't the problem. The infantry's the tough shit. The cannons are pretty ineffectual, honestly, and might not even want them. This guy's a weak spot right here, but they'll move someone up eventually. And yeah, I mean, we lost 2 units. That means we could bring the musketeers in. Could have done it earlier. I don't know. Don't really see a huge advantage to them being over on this side necessarily. There's Cav over there. I want them over here, but I would have had to move my leader, I guess. And that's going to throw me over to the Bavarians. And, you know, I mean, the one thing this scenario shows is the futility of going up against defensive positions in good terrain. It's just nasty. And that's kind of cool to see. It's the kind of thing that I'm like, oh, well, how would that work under this system? The problem is it's really unpleasant to play. And I just don't see these scenarios as being particularly interesting to play out. But I do find the piece of knowledge that they give, especially this one, where they're in a really tight defensive position. They don't have to defend all kind of shit over here. I find it kind of interesting, to tell you the truth. Anyway, the Bavarians come back, and they fire back. Now, it's kind of a weird situation. There are times when you don't want to fire back, and that's shown by these 2 pieces here. The musketeers, they were outgunned, essentially, and they probably shouldn't have engaged the French musketeers. But along this line, I'm very happy to just trade shots, because I've got overall an advantage because these guys are in open order and whatever. But I didn't put enough thought into those musketeers. Now we're going to hit the 2 units that I think I'm not going to want to do anything with, but I still want to roll for continuations and whatnot, just to see if I can get any rallies or anything. That's especially important over here, I guess. That gets me to another turn. You know, as usual, I want to stop playing for a while. The only problem is I'm not really sure what I want to do in exchange, you know, in between coming down to play. I've been watching video. That doesn't really please me. Kind of don't want to get drunk, although kind of do. Could have a nice big old cigar and just enjoy the day, but then I wouldn't get a lot of play in. Not really in the mood to go out anywhere, walking or whatever. Definitely don't want to go out there and hammer on that thing anymore. You know, if I could just replace the blade, that would be fine. You know, I'd pay $20, whatever, for a new blade. I don't know if that's even possible, though. I know it is possible to open that thing out and get the blade out, but I don't know if they sell replacement blades for it. I guess that's what I should look at next, because I had assumed that would be the easiest answer, but apparently it's really hard to get the assembly apart, to the extent that I don't know that I have the tools for it. Like, I might have to go out and buy more tools. Yeah. Attempted a little pushing forward in the flank here. Unfortunately, ended up with a routed unit. That's going to be a bit of a problem. I think that's one of the musketeers. Otherwise, we're coming in contact. We're taking damage for just moving up without doing anything, essentially. But that is what assaulting something like this is like. I'm going to break. I did the alcohol thing. enjoyed myself a nice Maduro Churchill and a couple of big glasses of chocolate milk with vodka in it. But I realized I have laundry I can do, so that'll be kind of something to spark. Not maybe doing something horrible. I don't know. While I did myself some laundry, I also diddled around for several hours with a stupid little game. I'm done with it, but whatever. Anyway, the French center advances forward. I noticed another unit that didn't need to be in open order, these gendarmes. I think they're dragoons as well. Not much hope for them, but yeah, we've pushed forward a little bit, and the trade-offs just aren't good. The firepower trade-offs when I'm in open order and my enemy isn't. When I'm fighting against those kind of terrain objectives, yes, there's penalties for firing downhill as well, but mainly because the muskets can't pivot downward. They're sitting on cross pieces and whatnot. But the firing advantages are definitely on the defensive side. On the other hand, attacking up is a really good way into good terrain, is just a really good way to just destroy your units really quickly. I'm just hoping that the attritional losses help out somehow. But honestly, the best move that the French can make in this scenario is just withdraw. Hope that they don't lose 9 points in pulling back. And then it's up to the Bavarians. Do they want to come out of their defensive surroundings? No, they don't. They're weaker. This is a scenario that basically neither side can win, as far as I can tell. It's so difficult to discern. This unit, sometimes I do it by strength points, but this unit is a pike unit as far as I can tell. It doesn't have a musket on it. I really wish they didn't distinguish between musketeers and dragoons. The musketeers with their guns showing, there doesn't seem to be any distinguishment in the rules. And the musketeers with their guns presented forward appear a certain way, and these things, it's just hard. It's just hard to tell. Anyway, I'm onward. 2 rounds of fire here, 1 continuation. It's just such a fucking bitch to deal with. It really is. I don't know how much to express just how fucking painful it is. It's not as bad. Like, there are games that are worse. I played Chosen a while back, and I just couldn't play that. But this one, man, it's just quite a while back. But while I was living here, this one is just fucking killing me with, because fire combat is already cumbersome. But when you're dealing with a situation where that's all that's happening in this game, where you're not getting the maneuvering, where you're not getting the breaks where things can start happening, it's so tedious. I'm again going to go to not doing anything with these commands that are in receive charge, the 2 cav commands. But the French, at the very least, want to recover a couple of units, which means that they kind of have to do something. That'll be end of line here. Now, that means we've done like 3 turns of this. It's just weird. I don't even know. Oops, forgot to retreat these guys. I wouldn't have been able to get to them in any sense. Well, we're down here on a Friday. I'm going to try to get a turn in. I look at the charge conditions, and this unit, I'm like, there's a routed unit, there's a formation broken. Charge may not be the best thing to be in. But the routed unit is 1 remaining strength point of musketeers. So fuck him. Because the idea of pulling back means I have to re-enter and get in all that more problematic situation. The question is, do I want to be in charge or not? That's a good question, because I might want to be in a situation where I'm not pressing forward more, where I can reform my units and get them into a better position. I only have one unit that's able to do introductory fire, for example. So it might be worth trying to change, into a different command. But I want to continue the attack. I don't want to throw myself into something like a rally. I'm out of chances as far as I can tell. I could continue doing the same thing that's just not working for me terribly well. I could maybe try to drop out of charge. I got a continuation. I could try to drop out of charge and get into something that allows me to reform my units, take more hits in doing so, and then maybe trade shots at a slightly less worse odds. But this isn't working. What might work? I got Cav here in this wing. I'm going to try to charge those units and see if I can get behind the Bavarian line. If I can do that, maybe it gives me something. Right now, I'm just not feeling like I've got any chance. A little bit of luck. The Cav has actually broken two of the flanking units on this formation. And this opens up some interesting options. Now, you can't charge through this shit. I don't know if you're able to charge up slopes. Gotta check that one. But, yeah, the odds were not terrible against the Cav. They weren't good, but at least it gave me some opportunity. And I got a couple of really lucky die rolls over there, which managed to get rid of my units. Now, one of the Cav chased off the board, but that's fine, except that I kind of need the Cav to hit from behind. I need those extra units, as it were. Let's see if we get another continuation on Turin. That looks likely. Okay, unable to get out of the charge. But another lucky Cav attack up here. This one was at -1. I mean, these are not great hits here, but I keep rolling really, really high. And as long as you're not, sitting at the -4 or something, a really high roll can still have good impact. These are not attacks I would make normally, but they're the best I've got in this scenario. At least it seems that way. Maybe I should be making more melee attacks, just because the odds, like the swinginess of the close combat table, is better than exchanging fire. I want it to do the attritional, thinking I've got more troops, but honestly, I think maybe you're better off just charging those pikes up there, and taking your hit. You're going to be at like -2 though, and worse if you're in open order. That starts to get into really ugly territory. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The Cav was able to do a little better to get the pistol shot and all that. Lots of options in there. In addition to firepower, I decided to actually push, and I pushed some Cav back, slammed into some Cav here, ended up, because it had density, not breaking it. But over here got bounced off of a weak unit. Just taking my chances on those, a -1 or whatever, instead of just trying to do this through attrition. The only bright spot is the gendarmes managed to take a gun, which was exposed for far too long. I don't know quite why they hadn't hit it before, but they did so now at some cost from fire as they advanced. And yeah, let's see if we get a continuation with these guys. It's pretty likely. And that'll happen. Now, I don't know what to do about it, right? Again, do I want to try to reform? I've got almost everybody in position. And I could kind of reposition this guy to go after this fort that's very weak. Like, I only need a little bit more firepower to finish that thing off, but, which is why charging it was probably dumb. I think I'm going to try to get into make ready. That'll allow Engen to go up here and rally that, and maybe I can do something else. It's just, it's such an ugly situation. Drop a die, and I don't know where it came from, but it knocked this thing, and maybe this piece. There's another thing that got knocked off here. I just don't know who got hit. And it got bumped. There's like a 4 strength point loss that got knocked here. And this guy, it's all off him. That's him. Okay, that's where the bump happened. Cool enough. I'm in this horrible position where I have to take a dump really bad. So I'll come back for that part, because this is just too nasty, and I'm almost out of tea and everything. Everything came out all right in the end. Unfortunately, it's like 4:30. Now, it's not time for me to leave yet. I can certainly get through this activation. The question is, can I get through the turn with my sort of fortitude for facing this game? I'm not sure. Because although neither of the Bavarians have gone, we've been doing this kind of, let's not do anything with the cav, but I'm beginning to think the French are going to need to break something up. And we've kind of disordered and caused issues to the Bavarian cav. So maybe we want to hit that as well. And that's going to be another big series, potentially, of attacks. Anyhow, I am already in the make ready on my first continuation, I think. Let's see what happens there. And we chased a cav away with some infantry here, but now we're in a position where this part of our flank is falling apart. We only really, the center wing is only hitting here and with these gendarmes here. Not enough, I think, to launch an attack. I'm out of activity, and I've got 3 wings left to do with a lot of complexity going forward. I think I'm going to call it here for tonight, which means, I'll be coming back Sunday to a mess. But unless I play tomorrow, which is unlikely, knowing how things go. This scenario is just, it really is a nightmare. The first one on this map was pretty bad too, but this one, I just don't, like, the French have to hope for incredible luck to have a chance. Now, they do have a chance with incredible luck. This system has a lot of luck baked into it, but you need a good string of it, and it just doesn't feel like it's happening. Let me look here, because I've got conceivably 2 flank attacks if I launch there, but I think the odds are pretty bad. And this guy just hit that, so it would have just been the gendarmes hitting. Yeah, that's not going to do. All right, so let's leave it here. See what the hell comes of it, but man, I would suggest not playing this one unless you want to see, in particular, how ugly an assault against a fortified position is, because that is what you learn here. That is what you see. And they weren't all that common. Usually you would attempt to outflank and outmaneuver a strong position in this period. It's not, Napoleonic and later, yeah, you start going for it. But you don't see this kind of attack happening very often this early. I think there was at least one kind of siege type situation in one of the Swedish German fights, if I recall correctly. But that was so long ago that I played those that I don't really remember. But this is truly a nightmare. And I don't think that one was as strong a position in terms of terrain as this. I'm at the very tail end of Saturday. I'm going to try to continue this turn. I don't know how well it's going to go. But yeah, I've got the position there. I have this feeling that what I really want to do is be playing something on the computer, but I've just been watching videos since like 5 and eating. That's Bavarians fired back. You can see we're getting some holes. This is a game where you don't have to take fires, and it may not have been wise to make all of them. Some of them I feel like the Bavarians have the advantage on, but some of them not so much. I'm running out of these markers, or I've run out of those markers, and these two deserve one of them. They don't have it. This deserves one and doesn't have it. It's just one of the problems. I can actually replace that router. I would rather have routers be holding them, not have those markers if I have to make choices between units. I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes. Basically, I want to know that I can't just recover, right? And it looks like I can just recover when I don't have them. This is a common occurrence in the system. I feel like there just aren't enough of those because you end up hitting the casualty threshold. By the way, my friend who had come and stayed and apparently had gotten a bunch of war games really cheap, like $1 each, is sending me some 27 pounds of decision games stuff. I guess there were a lot more than I thought there were. I had the feeling that, I was looking at maybe like a dozen magazines or something. Oops. But it will be my cheapest purchase of wargaming stuff since like when I first started and, bought like 7 S&Ts for a couple of bucks. And this is just, I'm probably not going to get to play them, but I don't know. I did want to give some shots at some of the DG reprint, more modern stuff. I'm hoping there aren't a lot of reprints in there, but whatever. I just can't believe, like, the store that I'm at, when they discount things or whatever, they're like half off. The idea of like $1 each is just sort of crazy. It's basically, we want to burn these, just get rid of them. It's been a long time since I saw sales like that. This wing over here was able to slip into charge on its continuation only. And I launched a single attack, drove somebody back. Doesn't really work out all that well. Like, if you can't destroy the enemy unit, I didn't have a pursuit, no. If you can't destroy the enemy unit, kind of what you're trying to do is cause more formation hits. And I was hitting something that was already formation broken. And got a crappy roll and didn't end up destroying the unit. Then I didn't get a continuation, or a second continuation. That puts me over to these guys. I don't know if I have the will for them, to tell you the truth. Yes, I did. I did a rally, and that's... I could have rallied better than I did. Let's go there instead. That would allow me to rally this unit as well. Yeah. For whatever it's worth. And we got the routers coming off here. Got to pick through here. I think I have a gun that I fired and then swapped the infantry in front. But yeah, we made it through the end of another turn. Things are so fucking annoying. I've got forces here that I would like to continue the charge, right? But then I've got, you know, cav units that are in the way, and part of the problem is I can't pull them back and even bring other cav units up, but I also can't bring my infantry up immediately. It's all kind of problematic in the sense that, like, this unit is blocking an infantry unit that would love to get into that defensible terrain and start lighting shit up. The only answer I have is to drop out of charge into something else and then get back to charge, which is pretty unlikely, to be honest. But I think it's the kind of activity I have to take here. Like I mentioned before, I have this problem. Like, this unit is not just morale shaken. I can't just recover him. He's one of these, but I don't have any more of those. And those have been regularly. There are just too few of them because units tend to take hits, and units tend to recover morale when they can recover it. So as the battles continue, you need more. I mean, you can see I'm using, and one illicitly, I'm using 2 of these, and look at all the different ones that, actually these are also illicit. Look at all the different units that need the, hey, my morale is shaken or worse, and I can't recover because I've taken damage, basically. Pressing forward with some low quality attacks, I've gotten very lucky and managed to kill a unit here and drive some units back, and I'm actually gaining ground up here. Now, it's not going to make up for the losses I've already taken, you know, but, well, we'll see. I mean, if I can kind of collapse this center, something cool could happen, but I also got myself shot out from here. I think this unit ran away, but another one was destroyed. Just trying to form up under enemy guns is not good. The problem I'm having with facing this scenario, you know, I'm looking at this cav wing. I made the decision to attack finally, right? But the frontage is so small and so tight, I can slip a unit or 2 in at a time. So the sort of rules of thumb that I had towards, okay, when do I recover a unit? What do I do? What commands do I use? They're all being put into such challenges here where I'm trying to figure out, yeah, but can I get anything done under charge? And what happens because I've got units that are, you know, already engaged, and I don't necessarily want to be fighting with them, but how am I going to avoid being in this kind of situation after any charge? It's just a, wow. It's just a painful combination. Like, I've got an attack here that I could make. That's of some interest, but this is already formation broken. If I don't kill it, I don't get anything good. And it's going to have a no retreat clause to it. So it may not, be in bad shape, but it may. Yeah, it's really, really a complex, like, understanding of what to do with the situation that I don't like to face. I don't like to face that kind of complex choice in most games, and I really don't want it in my war games. I want the little tactical minutia to kind of take care of itself, to be kind of mechanical. I want it present so I see the story, and this system does that usually. Once you learn those rules of thumb, right? But without them in play, having to deal with this strange tactical situation and the terrain and everything, man, it just hurts. The weird coincidence, which is Engen back here, he wants to save these units, which he can only really do by getting lots of activations. Yeah. And much as it doesn't feel like charge, I just inch forward with most of my units. One unit charged, destroyed one of the Bavarian cav. The other unit was stuck in combat, so it continues, had a slight advantage, manages to break their morale, but then they recover, and essentially nothing bad happened to the unit which lost the combat, whereas the unit which won the combat is now formation broken. Is that reasonable? Does that feel like winning a combat? Not really. I don't know. But yeah, and I guess I check for a continuation. And I don't get it, which is cool because I don't know what I'd do with it. I have to go through that whole process again of trying to figure out, is it time to pull back? I think the answer is yes now, and try to reorganize and get another couple of units up there. But it's just this, it's sort of the pretty appearance of a cav charge moving forward and hitting the enemy all over, and all the interceptions. There's not really much reason to intercept because the terrain doesn't allow for momentum for the most part. There was momentum here, but yeah, it's just ouch. It's not the pleasure that I get out of the Musket and Pike series under good clean terrain where it's a nice field. Is the system working under this? Yeah, I think it is. It's just not fun to play. Over here with DeWorth's command, and things have just become such a muddled, tight little mess. Again, it's because of the terrain and everything. Stuff is intermingled and in a way that's just ugly to deal with. And it's hard to make a decision of what I want to do. I think I can just trade fire. That's what I've been doing. But I got to hunt down pieces. We got like French intermingled into the units here. And what the hell is that all going to matter? And am I going to be able to get out of there? Probably not. I'm going to get meleeed possibly. Yeah, it's going to be complex. I'm going to do this one because that was so short. Fuck me. This unit here was part of the reason I decided to switch to receive charge, because its morale shaken. Well, it should have had one of these on it. I can't actually rally it up. If I can't rally this one either, I guess I'm gonna stay and make ready, but yeah. On Espanana or whatever, and I can't keep facing these. I need to go away and watch a video or something. What I really should be doing is some kind of work around the house, but it rained, and I don't know, the thing that I probably should do is going to be yuckier in the rain, so fuck it. The French center gets single activation and make ready. Loses a unit to gunfire when trying to recuperate there. The only real change some formation changes, but these musketeers have moved up near these guns. Not that it really matters; they're disabled anyway. But it is projecting some power to this flank, which again, the victory points are this line at the edge of the hill. Beyond the victory points that come from this, which the French are a little behind in, but not as bad as I would have, as it felt earlier. They've gained some ground with some of the cav attacks and whatnot, although the possibility of a success still looks really, really low to me. I think that's the last of the French command. We're down to this. Don't know what I want to do with it. Gonna have to piece through it and do a lot of thought. Probably would rather get into make ready, to be honest, and see if I can beat up some of these cav. We're just going to be attritioning cav back and forth is what I feel like is going to happen here at best. Counterattacks, whatever cav that was in close that had like a +1, +2, both went poorly. I lost a couple of cav due to it. French pursued one of them off the board. So the Bavarian cav is actually beginning to take some hits here for attacks that, I wouldn't normally make. But in this game, getting a +1 is kind of almost worth it, Yes, the Bavarians aren't under the same pressure, but they've got the feeling of, look, if I can win the cav battle over here, I can apply pressure and destroy that French center very easily. It's close to getting these hexes. Don't want to give them those. Let's go for it. Well, it didn't work out that way. And that will be the end of the turn. I got cleanup and stuff to do still. But yeah. French infantry disintegrated due to not having full retreat, retreating up against these cav. I don't know, maybe he should have been able to slip around. I don't care. I'm willing to accept certain mistakes. And so this is our final position going into... I've got it marked as turn 8, but there were a couple of turns at the beginning we didn't play because it's like only 18 turns or whatever, so it's actually turn 6. And that will put us to there and try to cope with what we can. What is all this? Oh, dead box, pursuit box. That's useful stuff. Yeah, I'm so used to doing it like this that I'm just going to continue with that. The keeper definitely becoming a problem. It's, probably getting close to 7:30 or whatever. It's getting dark. I'm waking up at like 4 p.m. or whatever the last couple days. It's just not good. Anyway, let's get started. I don't know how to get it under control because like my natural tendency is to want to be like to just want to stay awake all night. And as daylight gets shorter and shorter, that becomes like the entirety of my sleeping time. It's just really, really a troublesome factor in my existence. It's not like I go out and do things at night or I'm particularly effective at night. It's just that like I think because I can't do things at night that I want to be awake. And that the things that are more addictive for me, I just do all night. Anyway, let's see. We got anybody under charge still? Got this cav command under charge. I don't know if it's going to stay that way. I doubt it. It's so hard to tell because I could launch a bunch of attacks, but it's not good to attack here in the village. Over here might be, but I want to get my open order units to hit in these spaces. It's just yucky. I choose to basically reform this one unit and use Engen to go around and try to recover morale on units over here on the right. Whatever. You know, it's less pain, right? That's going to put me over to the right-wing Bavarian Cav. Getting a little confused as to who I was actually operating. I was operating this Cav wing, but most of the stuff I was doing was over here, and I ended up firing at artillery that I shouldn't have. Let me just take that back. That couldn't have happened. I'm now in the position. So either side can call a peace if there's nobody next to enemy units, and the only things next to are kind of over here. I've got this hard call as to which of these two commands I want to use and whether I want to try to get into a charge. It's not pleasant, but I think I want to because I want to try to force things here a little more. I think I'm in good enough shape, as good as I'm going to get, essentially. So pausing the battle isn't a good idea, and trying to press things is my only choice. That switch to charge didn't work well. I got repulsed by, fire by introduction here. These guys took a loss. These guys could actually launch an attack, which I want to do. But what it did manage, I'm not going to get a continuation. I shouldn't know that, but it's just hard to keep track of everything. What I should be doing, or what this does give me the advantage of, is now these guys don't have to go into charge, and I can try to reform them a little bit, which might be good. I don't know. Managed to push those musketeers out, but without gaining the hex. And now we're going to be on terrain, and I need a break again. It's just such a headache to play. It's just not fun. It's not as bad as Chosen, but it's just an unpleasant type of battle to fight out. Marine switches over into receive charge, so I can start recuperating a little bit more quickly and actually positioning some units closer. But yeah, it's just an ugly mess. And then I've got Diverth here to do next. God, this is messy. And for the thing I've been kind of grousing about a little bit through this scenario, because it comes into play way too much. This unit has been hit by both of these, plus 4 attacks on it. Flank hits, all kind of nastiness. And actually don't think I needed to fire those guns with all the effects. And the effect of it is to basically fuck up the formation of the attackers just because it survived both attacks. It gets into route and is back again. Rallying from the unable to retreat table. It just feels too much like I can't crush these units. I've got a continuation coming, but I did not get to change orders. So, we'll recuperate our units and try again and whatever. Found out I've been cheating. This unit, which finally killed that Cav, well, it is part of this wing, and shouldn't have been allowed to attack. And I'm just like, fuck it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. The mess is just, and shit like that could easily happen. The rigidity of the system kind of falls apart when you get into these mass melees and whatnot. But yeah, it shouldn't have happened, but fuck it. I'm allowing it to stay. And we got one more continuation available, possibly, which is at 4, 3, something. Not going to make it. That ends the turn. And we'll do whatever cleanup we have. First activation was these guys who were in charge. They dropped down to make ready. I reformed this unit. This can't hit it, can't do any damage, but I also don't want to assault because my odds of a successful assault are pretty crappy. I think they're actually in the negative. Not positive. I haven't checked everything, but they aren't good. Whereas I just need to do 2 fire hits, and I can hit this, and it can't hit me because there's too few units. Feels a little weird, but it's the kind of thing that this game... Again, this is sort of an edge case battle. I'm not sure that, it really accurately reflects what you're normally seeing. Well, it certainly doesn't reflect what you normally see in musket and pike battles. Is it accurate here? I mean, I don't know. The assault should be hard, but would we actually have no effect on fire combat? I don't know. If all the musketeers are gone, sure. But, yeah. Is that what we're at? I don't know. Another option. This thing could attack this. But that's not particularly advantageous. Vineyards, I think, they actually give a bonus to close combat. The attacker has a bonus attacking you if you're in the vineyard. So coming down into them, which feels weird, right? I mean, I don't know why that would be the case, but like I could see where... See, the thing is, I can see where, yes, this formation might have trouble holding itself together in those vineyards. But if it's being attacked in them, the attacker is going to break apart too, hitting them. So it kind of should be a wash, I would think. Is it worth the attack? I mean, I'm probably at a +1. Honestly, I think the Bavarians want to hit coming down. I'm not really thrilled with it, but especially given that I'm kind of backed up. Although here I do have a retreat route available, so yeah, I'm not. It's not solid enough that I can count on getting to here. Our attack, I think, was at 0, but it's worth a 0 attack when I'm just going to get melted away by the gunfire. I managed to get a good roll, break him, come down, take some shots. A little weaker. But this unit really wasn't an effective unit any longer. So the fact that it's falling apart isn't that big a deal, and I get a possible continuation there, which does not happen. Josephsbergle or whatever does a reform, gets a continuation, goes into charge, and actually beats up the French a little bit, smashing through here. I think I killed one unit, chasing it off the board, and I think those musketeers were killed as well, and retreated a unit here. The musketeers were killed by this. It's just, it's kind of hard. So many actions happened. There was a countercharge or two and all kind of stuff like that. So there was a fair amount of complexity to this whole attack. I'm hoping this is not a French unit. Okay, good. I've got to be careful. I've got like arquebusiers here that were just, shooting into there. didn't want to attack. This thing, formation broken, didn't want to attack into a village. It's, you know, I mean, the terrain is just so fucking ugly across the board. That is going to put me over here, I believe. And I need a break after, you know, there was a couple of units I did. So there was a party or something up at the pavilion. So I'm going to go check out and see if there was any food left in the trash. Here's the less and less garbage I'm finding in the garbage up there. You know, there was a ton of garbage, but I don't know. I remember when I used to find things that were more interesting. I found some stuff this year already a couple of times, but it's just not going as well as it used to. So the attacks that the Bavarians made here have really kind of thinned out their cav wing, and I think they may have opened up an opportunity for the French wing to make an attack. The problem, of course, is I have a broken unit here, which makes life harder. You know, it's like, again, do I want to recover or whatever, you know? I've got lots of stuff, like I've got this thing that needs to recover as well, so I can't just count on Engen to get everything. Straight went for recovery actions there. Terrain's still available, but this wing is still available as well, and it's received charge. Don't know what I'm doing with it. And I gotta be careful because I think this is like part of the cav and shit like that. And I know there's another cav kicking around that I just forget about when it's the cav's turn, to be honest. So I kind of have to move it now because it would have had to try to get into command back when the cav was moving. And overall, a fairly mellow turn without, you know, a lot of attacks happening, but there's still units in contact with each other, so we can't call the break yet. About halfway through, I say. We enter another turn. This is like turn 8, I think. I think I skipped 2 turns. I don't remember if it was 2 or 4. I hope it was 2, because it feels like it's been forever. Anyway, I got these guys in charge. They're going to have to go first. I don't think they want to stay in charge, to be honest. The Bavarian cav is beginning to... it's much thinner than the French cav. There's less units, and I can't really afford to accelerate the attacks on that flank. I got a bad enough roll. I'm going to have to continue. Now, I don't actually have to attack, though, so at least there's that. But I do have to advance. Where, you know, the terrain and everything just gets ridiculous. So this unit is part of this cav. It has to turn around and try to get into command, but it's going to break formation if it does that. So it just fails, you know. It just, I mean, ideally they would have to form up, get into open order, and then move closer. That would be their quickest way to do so, but they're not allowed to take those choices. Continuation in which the French did some attacks on them, actually, one of which went horribly wrong and ended up with a Bavarian up here. But I can't get out of charge. I have to attack. I have to keep pressing forward. This is going to put the Bavarians in a really horrible position, I think. Continue with ugliness on both sides. It doesn't look like it's going terribly well for the Bavarians, except for this one formation broken, battered cav, which has plowed the infantry out of its way now. And I think this is our final check on a continuation. Our leader's way up here now. After having charged and destroyed a French cav. And that's not going to allow a continuation. But this was ugly, and I'm going to put this over here. It's going to be one of those guys I need to break. You know, the amount of checks and count and different attacks and whatnot, just everything is just gotten so complex and so mucky in this that I just can't stay and do another one. There's essentially nothing left of the French center. I think just these two units. Not positive. It's hard because things get entangled, but I think that's all that's left there. And the artillery. And we blew up the one strength point that was left of the unit that the Bavarians had up there. And, well, got ourselves into open order to go once more into the breach, I guess, as best as we can hope. That is going to put things over to the cav wing, and with the infantry being as light as it was, I guess I kind of have to try to do this cav wing. I don't know what the hell to do with it. It's just a bloody mess, the amount of contact that they have already, and but we'll see what we can get out of it. Multiple attacks here didn't go well. One of my units got destroyed. Might have taken out some Bavarians as well. I think I did here. No, I think they got chased back. Yeah, they got chased back. And oh, what the fuck is this? Yeah, this was Cav. This could have been attacked. I don't know. I'll see if I wanted to. It's so hard to keep track once things get this messy of what's going on. Did not get a continuation. That would put things over here. I'm going to see if I had an attack there that I wanted to make. I quite possibly did if that's infantry there. This is one of those situations where neither side wants to attack because there's the abatis between us, which would make it negative for either side to launch the attack. I don't want to make attacks at negative amounts. But yeah, that's going to put it on Der Worth, who, you know, he's got to face this. That's really, there are these here. There's just not that much French left. But anyway, even though we're getting to where the turns are getting smaller, they're just so complex. You know, each activation is so complex in this scenario that even when they start filtering down, I don't feel like I can take time off. And there's still a fairly heavy amount of cav operating here that gets messy and bloody on its own. To kill another French cav, charging in here and reorganizing some units, whatever. And that's going to put it over to Turin. See if he can get back at this. I don't know. You know, it's like, it's just such an ugly mess right now. Oh, some of Turin's cav manages to destroy that infantry unit while recovering units elsewhere, whatever. That should put us to the end of the turn. They're getting shorter, still painful, but shorter. And I don't think we have any routers. That's one of the other things, because as long as you have an army commander, you can run around fixing the routes. There aren't, unlike the big open battles, there aren't a lot of units that are going to be engaged at any one time. So, like, yeah, the attack maintains this sort of slow, piecemeal grind throughout the entire thing. Last 4 hours or so, kind of trying to sleep. I may have snoozed for about an hour or so, but most of it just listening to videos while lying on my back. I don't know what to do about it. But we got the cav wing over here in charge, which means nobody can call the turn off. Even though I think, no, we still got some connection. We still got a unit there that's adjacent. To get out of charge, forced us to push forward with some units. However, there was basically an exchange. Both sides lost a cav unit. The French had this broken too, though. So there goes that. And that's going to put me on one of these two. Gonna break again. I'm awfully tired and just trying to, like, since I'm awake, I figured I'll come down and do some, but this happens and I just can't sleep. It's getting around noon now, and anyway, center wing moved forward into this unappealing attritional fight. My artillery did manage to do some damage this time, which might have some positive effect. Now we go over to my French cav wing over there. The French cav does a smashing job of wrecking most of the Bavarian cav that's up here. We still got a couple through here, and I think there may be something. Yeah, this is kicking back there. Who knows? But yeah, they're winning that flank. Ugly as it is to do. I had a couple of charges. Wasn't in perfect condition. This scenario, it's hard to be in perfect condition for an attack. That's going to put things over to the Bavarian left. The infantry, which, you know, the center for the French is pretty much gone. But the right is still fairly potent with a fair amount of cav, etc. It is possible that the Bavarians will be wiped out here. We're seeing about equal losses, but the French are beginning to look like they have the numbers, actually. Kind of beginning to figure out how to get a grasp on making these assaults. Anyway, gonna break again. See if I can snooze. I don't know. Maybe try to do some work. Keep trying to convince myself, but I'm so fucking tired. I don't want to. After doing a tiny bit of physical labor, because I'm tired enough that, like, it seemed like an idea. I'm pooped. Less than a half hour trying to start working on my roof. I'm not going up high, just dealing with the pole. There's a lot of weight. But didn't used to tire me out that so quickly. Anyway, I did, with the received charge here, did some rallying type stuff in there. That's going to throw it now over to Turin, and we'll get a better view of what's going on after he moves, because this front, or this wing, seems to be going pretty well on the French side, and I've got hopes for this one, but I can't be sure. One thing, working with that pole, and I don't know how long it is, like 20 feet or so I have it at. You gotta think it's like, the pikes were like 18 feet long. It just gives you an idea of, like, how hard it is to maneuver and deal with something that big. In some ways, I don't know, like, I would have just thought it was impossible, right? But actually being able to do it in whatever gives you some fucking clue as to just how much. Now, this thing's a lot lighter because it doesn't have a wooden shaft or anything like that. It's, it's some kind of plasticky type material, some kind of, anyway. It's just like, Jesus, the amount of strength that it must have taken to keep your pike out there, not just up in the air, but partially raised at an angle so that it could hit. Anyway, enough of that. But I refilled my pipe and thought about it for a moment. I'm like, yeah, kind of the same kind of thing. Able to slip into make ready. I wanted to get some units formed up better into open formation, whatever, but didn't get a continuation, and that, I think, is the end of another turn. After I clean up, get back down here after some drinking and reading, a little bit of a nap, and we got 3 units in charge. French get to choose first. I'm going to choose this command because I want to get them ready in case the Bavarians end up stuck in their charge. That's my ideal hope. If I have to charge, I'm okay with it, but I'm not thrilled about it. Definitely not the optimal result, although I managed to chase their leader, Josephsbergle or whatever, off the board. Over there I'm off, which means that his calf's just not going to get an action at all. And let's see about a continuation. Yeah, we would still like to reform. We didn't take any morale hits. I kind of would like to drop all the way into receive charge, but my chances of make ready are better. So let's go with the make ready, I guess. But we don't get that anyway, we get to charge some more. And then we get the advance in the center, and that goes well enough for us. Honestly, I think I want to number these. Try to get them somewhere else. They're screened right now. But no continuation. That's going to put me over to Turin. I've done enough for a bit. I still may have only snoozed a little bit. Not much at all. It's after midnight, so it's working on Tuesday now. I took Turin's command here, and I just don't understand what happens when I get into these states where I can't do anything but can't sleep either. And dropped into a received charge. I didn't get a continuation, of course. It's hard to get one there. That gets me to the last thing, which is the Bavarian infantry. And to make ready with them, and did a couple of preps. Puts me here. Let's check the Bavarians, see if we get our general back. It's unlikely. We do not. And we gotta check who he's replaced with. But otherwise, it's just cleanup. There it is, rather late on Tuesday. Got my garbage down. I mean, it's not surprising, given that I did not sleep yesterday, whatever, Monday, for any reasonable... I mean, I probably patched together 2 to 3 hours of snoozing during videos, but essentially I was up for a couple of days straight. Whatever that means, although it's kind of confusing. Because I don't really know what time I got up on Sunday. I think it was around 2 or so. Well, I didn't get up until like 4:30 today. So that big load of games came, which means I have another task, which is recording everything into the BGG databases and whatnot. I was already 1 game behind, which and all of these, this is going to be painful because all of these essentially maybe belong on the gift list as well. I don't know. Anyway, I don't really want to do that because that's a lot of work to put them all in. But I may just put it under 1 entry, but it still involves a lot of cross-referencing, which is painful. What it does mean is that I basically didn't do one of the things that I kind of wanted to do, which was go out and get more vodka. I have enough, but I'm running low, and anything always hits me that way. But I also didn't do any work on the yard house, whatever. I may still have time to do so. But I want to get a little bit of this in. And let's see. Once again, we have 2 charges over on the French side. So I will try to decide who's the more important to do. This wouldn't hurt, but this might trump it in the sense. See, here's the thing. I don't want to get stuck charging, but I have Engen over here already, which means I have more of a chance of dropping out of charge and reforming my units. A fair amount of reforming. I got a continuation, not a second one. And you see a lot of the units are back in open order. I have a lot of open order counters left. Still behind in these. The musketeers are back to using the wrong markers there. Something I have to remember. But yeah. And, you know, I was reflecting on how unlikely I am to use the preemptions. It's like I've completely discarded that as a tool. I considered it briefly. It's kind of neat because in charge, my odds of preempting are higher. And I would want to do it. I just don't like the risk of not having a continuation. And I don't know, because the chance of a continuation is less. I don't know where to go. We're doing stuff like that more, but I think it's more from the Great Battles of History games, rather than these, that I feel like the risk to payoff is just is too low. Is not a good trade-off in this one comparatively. Whereas in that one, quite often I would look and I'd be like, well, if I don't do a preemption now, I'm fucked. I don't feel that way here. I feel like if I fail my preemption, I have a problem. Is more how my reaction is that I won't get all the activities that I need. Both cav wings are mostly in formation. I think I did not move him on that second activation. Okay. I'm assuming. Oh no, that's a unit from the center. Oh, I don't know. Okay. Whatever. Right. Both are mostly prepared for the next round of fighting, as it were. That's going to put things over to the center. I might as well. I still have pipe and coffee left, and I might be able to do some work. I got some branches I got to cut, but unfortunately that thing can't work. And I don't really want to use my chainsaw for it. I have a handsaw, but that's going to be a lot of work. But that's okay. It'll be different work from trying to use the pole. And we swapped down to make ready, but a couple of units on the front, one from each side, ended up breaking due to the attritional fire. I'm going to stop there. Let this guy hold the position next time. You know, I mean, we're working through slowly. But here's the cool thing. I actually have something to do tonight in terms of recording all these games and everything that is gonna be kinda helpful, I guess, to me. I went out and looked at what I need to get rid of, and I don't see a way of doing it without the hedge trimmers, to tell you the truth. Some of it's quite up there. And these poor things. Fuck. Apparently there are blades you can get for these, but you know, it takes me like a month or more to make a decision, like to actually enact what I should do. When I'm lucky, there's things like this lamp that I have not fixed since like I moved my stuff back here, which was, you know, what, 2017 or 18, you know. And I've just been sitting here with it, and I know what I need to do, right? I need the little switch that I had put on before, and I know how to do. I need to get another one and, rewire it. But I don't do things. Fuck me. Anyway, let me get some more done, I guess. And then go outside and sit and read. Maybe smoke I have a couple of cigars I didn't finish over the past couple of weeks. I'm like, they're going to be stale as hell and everything, but with coffee they're okay. That way I don't need to drink. Bavarians are really running low on troops right now. I'm trying to form up a defensive line here. Now, obviously, the threat from here isn't very heavy, but I still feel like I have to have a line there, and I'm trying to form one here as I recover units, etc. For what that's worth. This guy, yeah. To the best that I can. That puts things over here. Now the problem is some artillery fire was successful against them and ended up against them? Really? Guess so. And ended up breaking their formation. So the advance is going to be hard. These abatis removal markers, I'm barely using them in one of the few scenarios where they're effective. I'm going to use these in the place of these guys because I got another unit here that's morale shaken but can't recover. Take a look at the number of morale broken, shaken markers there are. Ooh. Left over, how many formation broken. These just happen far more often. Yes, these can serve as them, but I find them really bothersome and unworkable because I end up rallying the units that have them. So, I don't know. Obviously, it wouldn't be much better to have more of these and run out of those, but I have never come close to running out of these kind of things because rallying units is really easy, but you can't rally these units. So is it terribly easy? Not tremendously, but you very seldomly see formations that are all like, it's just not worth fighting when you're below normal morale if you can recover. Of course, doing a rally right in front of enemy guns is a bad idea, but generally you've been forced back when you take morale hits. Because firepower can cause morale hits, but it's unlikely to do so until you've reached this. Like, most units have a morale of 7 or higher, so they have to take at least 2 hits from firepower to be affected. Units with morale 8 have to take at least 3, which is, you can't get it off the chart, but you can get it off multiple fires that happen at once from one action or something. But it's unlikely, So the most likely case where you end up with morale damage is having these here. And I just think the game, unless I'm completely misunderstanding something about the rules. All right, let's get to Turin. He's the last unit, right? I do believe so. Got to check everywhere. That'll give me a chance to recover this at least. And, I don't try to get into charge. I get myself into make ready, get myself ready. These are in open order so that they can come down and fight. But this is my best unit remaining. So it's like, yeah, I don't want to throw a bunch of shit up against this and hope for the best. And meanwhile, I get to recover this unit, which is over here. But this is like, it's just a matter of, I can't move forward with my whole formation because there's a unit. It's the only unit that I have that I can count on to stand under fire. These guys are going to take morale checks immediately as soon as they take any fire, any effective fire. So there's a fair chance that they'll break. They're also shot up, so they're not going to do much damage. This guy is absolutely healthy. He's the guy I want to send forward. He is indeed pike. It's hard to tell sometimes. From a distance, I have to lean in. And anyway, that's going to be end of turn. We may actually run out the turns in this scenario without a clear situation, simply because of the amount of effort it takes to recover your troops after an engagement. And that's the terrain. The amount of time to recover your troops after an engagement in flat terrain happens too, but it doesn't happen where you're like, oh, my one unit took a cannon shot and now I have to halt all my units because everything is so chewed up at this point other than that unit. Generally, it's like, look, the battle's decided by the time you get down to that kind of level. People are able to maneuver around and get around people. But with all this defensive terrain, it's just this horrible, like, form up, keep forming, keep forming. That's not the worst. The worst is when the attacks are actually underway and everything's a complete mess within that terrain, because there's no desire to pull back and try to form, a solid line or anything. You're fighting at the top of the hill, just trying to get control of the hill. The terrain is too bad to maneuver around and try to get into a better position on the hill or something where you can, hold it more heavily. So you end up with situations where the flanks are exposed and everything, but you're just like, screw it. It's not worth falling back. It's gonna degrade my troops even more. Day quickly begins to darken. Here we are. We got 3 commands under make ready on the French side, which beats everything's under make ready. The 2 on the Bavarian. Got to make my choice. What is most important to do? I don't know the answer to that. Like, I've got to crack a line somewhere. This almost certainly is not the most important, although that's set up the best with Engin right there. To be able to shift into, say, a charge if I want or whatever. I think I go with this because it's the most likely to be disrupted by the artillery fire. Although I think I cheated when I had it because the artillery is facing this way. Oh well. Didn't do it. Second shot got me into charge though, so we go forward. We conduct the ugliness. Honestly, it doesn't look too good. One of the infantry units got destroyed coming up. The other one here. The musketeers. The only hope I have is that this cav can break those infantry units. That would break things open to some extent, but I don't know what the odds are on that. And this cav can try to break up this one's attack. Say Turin's attack mainly failed. I did break through and take out some infantry. Some cav here. The infantry was in really bad shape. But otherwise, this unit is routed. We're up here with shit that can barely do anything. We don't want to launch attacks because the odds are bad. The Bavarians don't want to counterattack because they're okay on trading fire. They're inside a fortress, a bastion or whatever. Is that what they're called here? Redoubts. Giving it up seems like a bad idea. They're better off just trading shots and attritioning the French away. But it looks to me like Turin just doesn't have the oomph to take things out at this point. That's going to put the activity over there. I think I'm going to it looks awfully dark out right now, but there's still some light. You can't tell if you can see. There's still some light in there. I think I'm going to run out and see if I can catch a little bit of sunset, because I like to do that, and it gives me some excuse for my existence, I guess. Particularly pretty today, and I actually took a little longer walk home, not cutting back over through the park, but kind of around the block. So I got a little bit more than I expected. But you know, it's so little. So little. Anyway, yeah, I don't know which to do. This is least likely to do harm if he has to attack, but I can't force him to attack, right? Because he can go to the center. But yeah. The French center got pushed back. They are in a position where I think they're permanently in rally. I just looked it up. It's not formation shaken that's required. Morale shaken is sufficient. It's morale shaken, broken, or formation broken. If everything's in that, you have to go over. Actually, everything's not. This unit is not. So I can continue my attack or resume my attack if I get with this. This is going to have to fall into rally. However, the Bavarian center still has one unit, which is formation shaken here, that's holding them so that they don't just fall into rally. If you fall into rally, you're pretty much done. You can hold a defensive position, maybe, sort of, kind of, but you're not going to attack anymore. And we're getting to the point where the French army is just about ready to call it quits, which is kind of cool, because a unit, you know, commands just shouldn't be able to continually fight. And I had thought that the morale shaken units don't count, which means basically once you get all your units with enough casualties on them, and it's not that many, honestly, but it's sufficient. Point-wise, it works out to, you know, if you look at it, about half the size of the unit. If it's taken about 50% losses, yeah, it's probably not able to continue the assault. Now, instead of just not being able to continue the assault, what it reflects is if the entire wing is in that state, you're going to be permanently in rally from then on. And that is just a painful situation. Right now, all of these are in a position where they're going to fall into rally. That puts me over, I guess, to the Bavarian Cav now. I don't know if I want to do them. I feel like this battle's over. The French are not going to gain much. See, the thing is, it's not really over, because there's a possibility for the Bavarians to push the French out of there. So the determination of this Cav wing is going to perhaps decide the battle. But as it stands right now, I think I've got like 20 points from these. It actually looks like I may have done more damage to the Bavarians, but I think the battlefield is skewed because the French have more strength points, that it's not at 0. Oh no, it's at even on this one. The previous battle on this field was not even. The French had things against them, but I guess this terrain being so hard to take, causing more losses, even though you have a stronger force, is not sufficient. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. But we took out one of their leaders, who's worth 5 points or so, and yeah. So maybe we fall back and put it in our pocket anyway. at this point. I don't know. That big cataloging job out of the way. Unfortunately, or fortunately, a lot of counters to clip now and organization. And I got to figure out my file cabinet may need reorganization too, because there's a lot of stuff going in, but it's mostly towards the more modern stuff where I think I have more room in it. I might have to move some stuff down to the science fiction fantasy level, more of the hypotheticals and stuff. Anyway, Deverth here kind of rallied his forces, exchanged some fire, and destroyed a unit there. And that puts me on the last unit of the turn, which is the Cav here, which is really the French's last hope, is that the Cav can win them the battle. I don't know if it can, but we shall see. And the French assault does not go well at all. They pretty much bounce off, some of them across the river here in the wrong direction and everything. Didn't launch attacks here in either direction. The terrain is not favorable for anybody to make an attack. The French are making attacks that are low odds, honestly, like -1s and stuff like that, just trying to hope that they can crack the thing. I think we're pretty close to dropping back. But here's the problem. We can't. We have to hold these hexes. That's 20 victory points, right? So it's like, what the hell do I do under those circumstances? It's pretty much the end of the line here with the French being repulsed back. And this guy's been firing to good effect, these arquebusiers, and with few units left, I can keep reloading, you know? And the French have enough units that they can't really respond, and they were in open order and everything like that, so that was problematic for them. Anyway, I'm gonna stop for a while, obviously. We're seeing the great problem, which is units, some of the Cav unit, well, one of the Cav units has decided to rout because they also have this guy routing. I'm just too hammered right now, the French, to be able to keep all their units in good order, even with Ingham running around, even with pretty active orders. Shit's still happening late and causing units to go flying off. I had to fall back into rally. There was a slight exchange of fire here, but nothing else happening there. The Cav wing was unable to get out of charge in its first activation. It slips into rally for its second to try to recover from what happened. They basically charged along here, made attacks again, zeros, -1s, nothing great, and they were repulsed, and it's looking pretty bad for the French. And the two infantry the Cav over here, the Bavarian Cav, went through a make ready, and the French center goes through a make ready. Now we're down to the Bavarian infantry, which really the only thing it's doing is trading shots here. We're holding good territory. We're just trying to wear Turin's forces down enough that we can get the hill back. We got plenty of time for it, at least. That Bavarian center is beaten up enough that it had to drop into rally as well, which is a sign that maybe they can be pushed back. I haven't taken care of the fire yet. Reminder, I'm going to slip fire markers under these rallies that cannot be recovered from, which essentially means don't expect the French to gain ground here, but also don't expect the Bavarians to necessarily be able to take it back. It's going to be a hard call. Right now they're just exchanging fire. If that's all that happens, one of these two hexes will be cleared, and then that'll be kind of it on that front. Because neither side can actually advance except through close combat. This, like I said, it's pretty damn close. It's only that Cav unit that's holding me, and I can use Engen to prevent that from engaging so that I can keep throwing units in, but that's not too likely. And then the only thing remaining are the 2 cav wings. The French have, I don't know, it's getting pretty close to even at this point. I really feel like the battle is over, but it's not. It's like nothing major is going to happen, but I can't call it or anything because there's still the question of these hexes. If Turin's forces can be forced back somehow, then the Bavarians can take everything. If not, well, the French are beginning to accumulate losses at a rate that I think is putting them to where they're losing the battle, as opposed to before where it kind of looked like they were winning. Now, a lot of those units, though, were down like 5-6 strength points and worth 5 or 6 victory points, the infantry or whatever, instead of the 10 for the whole unit being just racked completely. Oh, as we hit this next turn, we're in random wing time. We got one make ready on both sides. They're both commanded by a -1. So I guess odd French. All right. So we're going to be on the Bavarian cav. Well, rather than trying to press things because, I got these formation broken, so I could try to chase them away and whatnot, but they're going to be a pain in the ass to recover, and I might lose something on them. I've got so many fucking arquebusiers. I just think I'd rather just stay as I am. So I took one continuation, but I didn't roll for the second one at all. I'm sorry, not Engen. Esperon, I don't know what his name is. Ends up getting his full 2 continuations, but the only thing that really happens is Engen running around rallying stuff. I did try to go into charge to make one more attempt to take the hill. Didn't happen. I think one side or the other could have called a pause at this point. I don't know who that's in the better favor of, to tell you the truth. The French definitely feel like they might gain another 10-point space out of things. But then again, they might lose a 10-point space. Actually, so long as these are both here, adjacent to each other, the French did lose a space. I don't know if they lose the points for it, but because the Bavarians can't move forward. We can't actually call that 4-turn pause. I think it's not a bad idea to count points at this point, though. I just don't see the French being able to achieve anything. I don't think anything significant is going to happen here. So I think we'll do that. I'm gonna call this one here. I could go through 4 more turns with these guys unwilling to attack each other across this river. Now, he was able to try to get out a rally. He failed. But it just doesn't feel like there's any oomph left. It feels like the battle is over. I don't know. Let's call it here. All right, I'll be back with points in a moment. Although the French, the top line number, what I got off of the units destroyed, the French took 230 points of casualties. The Bavarians took 155, right? So that sounds overwhelming. But then when I start adding other things, 20 points for hexes, 30 points for capture or for disabled artillery, 5 points for the leader I got, and then another 6-point difference due to losses on the board, it actually comes out pretty close. As close as I thought it was before, which means the French were probably well ahead at one point, had they, again, taken it and put it in their pocket. We're talking about a 14-point difference, which is, I think, enough for, because 9 points was the break there. 14 points is enough for a, Bavarian marginal victory. And a close one, you know, it's not like it was running because they're only marginal and decisive. The historical outcome was an 80-point difference, giving a major Bavarian victory. So we actually did pretty well with the French, and I think there could have been a point where we could have pulled back and said, you know what, we don't need these hexes all that bad. And it probably would have been a draw rather than anything else. Of course, at the very beginning of the battle, we could have called it a draw there too. So, you know, it did feel like there were times when the French had an opportunity. I don't know that luck terribly went against them. This was an incredibly unpleasant scenario to play. I don't think that the scenarios on this map were particularly historical in terms of how the system handles them. Although, when you start putting in my incapacity to remember all the rules and hold them in hand properly and everything, who knows? But again, it does feel like, look, these formed mixed pike and musketeers and whatnot, they're just not going to operate well in this terrain. And the cav is not going to operate well in this terrain. So there's kind of nothing left, you know. There's a reason that a lot of medieval and ancient battles, and to some extent you could argue battles in this era, were fought on relatively flat terrain, because that gives you the opportunity to maneuver around and whatnot. Although clearly, you know, the Bavarians without the terrain advantage would be in a lot of trouble in this one. But managing and operating your army, even on the defensive, was a hard task, and one that the system makes incredibly painful. And that's what's unpleasant. It's not that it's ahistorical or anything, it's that it's just not fun, you know, to be constantly trying to form your troops up for another, you know, to trickle a couple more in through the bad terrain. Anyway, we're going to move to something else. We'll be back on these. I'm going to get them all in. I got that thing over there too. I don't know if I have any others. I don't think so. I think that's the only one I got. I got to cut the counters for that though. Unfortunately, they're not normal. They're like just cardstock that you got to cut loose. All right, let's send this up and try to remember what it's called. Josephsbergle. Yeah, like I'm going to remember that.